because we all like to stay young. I'd say we, I'm speaking for everybody, but, if I'm guilty for that, I'm going to be guilty. Aging is something that, I learned to appreciate. I'm learning to appreciate. I ain't going to say I learned it. I got it. No, I'm learning to appreciate aging, because with long wisdom come along with aging. Teaches me patience. Sit back, relax, take life for what it is, not what versus what I want it to be. It's less stressful. I know I ain't got to. When I was working, I had this one saying. I tell them, I got a broom in my office. I carry that broom with me wherever I go. I say, what the hell are you talking about? What I mean when I say I got a broom with me, because I know sometimes boundaries can be overcrossed. So I tell them, I said, my broom serves one purpose. It helps me sweep your shit on your side and my shit on my side. So there's a boundary. And I know I don't have to deal with your shit, but I definitely got to deal with my shit. Now, life lessons of legacy, where real men have real conversation. I'm Anthony Washington.
And I'm Titus Garnett, and we're here to dive deep into the struggles, victories, and lessons that shape us as men, from mental health and fatherhood to faith, identity, and purpose, breaking the silence and starting the conversations that matter.
We have over 12 years of professional experience and over 140 years of combined life experience as fathers, sons, brothers, husbands, friends, educators. We are you. We know that healing starts with honest dialogue. So let's get real. Let's get ready. Let's grow together. This is Mended Men's Conversation. Let's dive in. Good morning. This is Mended Men, Anthony Washington, and we talk about men issues. Today, what we're going to be talking about is navigating life's transitions. Normally, I'm here with my co-host, comrade Titus Garnett, but he got some things going on with him, so he's running a little late, but he definitely will be here, But we're going to go on with the show, and when he get in, he just get here and just jump right on in, and we just do what we got to do. That's what we do. Today we talk about life constantly changing. The transitions either it's going to make us or break us. So let's talk about men navigating through the changes of life using faith and confidence. How does that mesh into this process? Navigating life's transitions. Okay? First of all, why does change feel so uncomfortable? Because none of us really want to change. Gotta catch myself. I can get comfortable just doing things as they are. Waking up every day knowing that this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I get comfortable. Expectation. Oh, I know this going to happen. That's going to happen. But when I don't know what's going to happen, that's what's uncomfortable. Not knowing. And we don't know what life has for us from one minute to the next. We assume, that that's what we expect for things that happen like this and happen like that. But 9 times out of 10, it don't normally jump off like that. You know, the fear of the unknown, loss of control, identity shift. I had a conversation with somebody last night and they was telling me, I was just messing with them, I called them up to say good night, just having some fun. You know, they came back at me and said some stuff like, you messed up my day. I'm making music and you just threw my thing off. You this and you that. So I listen. Because, one of the things that we learn in this process is that, I need to be able to have a conversation with you. Conversation means I listen, you talk. You talk, so it goes back and forth. I hope I said that right. Anyway, it goes like that, and so I listened to him and I told him, I said, now from my knowledge, my experience is that what I do, if I allow you to stop me, my flow, I can use you as an excuse for not taking the responsibility and say, you stop. But the reality of it, in my thinking, is that I'm just using you as an excuse. But if I allow you to stop me from doing what I need to do for me, my peace of mind, that's not your fault. That's my fault. Now, it's easy for me because I'm not going to take responsibility for my shit or what I do, what I didn't do. I blame you. So I mentioned that to him. Change the whole subject. Just like that. Just like that. Just change the whole subject. I said, okay. Oh, but the bottom line of it is that we completed our conversation. We talked and we got off the phone. The vibe was good. What I'm saying is that I didn't allow him to make me angry or try to debate with him or tell him that, he's wrong. Or no, it wasn't about that. Listen, that's your opinion. I respect it. But I also have an opinion too. All I'm asking for the same thing in return is respect. So, I share that because that's the fear of the unknown. No, not knowing what's going to happen from one minute to the next. I'm losing control. You say something to me, and so automatically I'm lost control. So my identity shit from fear to unknown to all that old shit. So I gotta look at that. I just have to actually take a look at that and realize, how do I function from this point forward? Do I act on my emotions, or do I take a step back and count myself to 10? And then I move forward. How do these are the things that I have to do. And like I said, the conversation was good. It ended on a good note. I put it like that. Normally, it ended on a good note. See, I'm gonna assume that he'd have been at my throat, and immature shit. That's what it ended up being. Both of us have been acting immature. But it didn't turn out like that. He said what he had to say. I said what I had to say. But at the end of the conversation, before he hung up and I hung up, the vibes was real cool. It was good. It was good. And that's the uncomfortability. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't act on how I felt. That was the most important thing to me. And just navigating that process, not knowing, but just implementing a lot of patience in that process so I can see and feel that, it was okay. I got to respect what he said. I ain't got to like it, but I need to respect what he said. And if I feel like I got a response, then I respond to it, but not out of anger, just merely conversation. That's all it is. Major life transitions for men: career change, marriage, fatherhood, divorce, aging. That's a good one, aging. Because we all like to stay young. I say we, I'm speaking for everybody, but if I'm guilty for that, I'm gonna be guilty. Aging is something that, I learned to appreciate. I'm learning to appreciate. I ain't gonna say I learned it. I got it. No, I'm learning to appreciate aging. Because long wisdom come along with aging. Teaches me patience. Sit back, relax, take life for what it is, not versus what I want it to be. It's less stressful. I know I ain't gotta. When I was working, I had this one saying. I tell them in a minute, I got a broom in my office. I carry that broom with me wherever I go. I say, what the hell are you talking about? What I mean when I say I got a broom with me, because I know sometimes boundaries can be overcrossed. So I tell them, I said, my broom serves one purpose. It helps me sweep your shit on your side and my shit on my side. So there's a boundary. And I know I don't have to deal with your shit, but I definitely got to deal with my shit. Now, if you ask me for my opinion, I render it. If not, I keep my mouth shut and go on about my business. Just that simple. Just that simple. And that's just the way it is. And it's been working. And I use that on a daily basis. Sometimes I get my shit mixed up with other people's shit. I'm admit. Boom, I didn't use. But I know it's there. And the more I use it, the better it gets. When I don't use it, not too well. But it gets like that. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about when I mention aging. That's what that's about. It reminds me these things in place. This is what I need to do. This is how I do it. I'm gonna always have my feelings, my emotions, but I don't have to act on how. And that's the key to that. Fatherhood is a role model. That's all I can say about fatherhood. It's a role model because what I say, I need to demonstrate it in my actions. I don't know how else to put it any other than that. Because I can't go out there. I don't want to go out there and tell somebody something and I'm doing something different. That's bullshit. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely bullshit. And I don't want to function like that. I don't want nobody to come to me because again, I go back to aging. It made me think of, I need to make sure my actions and my conversations coincide with each other. It has to be for to be believing, to feel confident that, I can listen to what somebody's saying and apply it to my life. Because what they're saying, I see it. I see it in action, real life, and those are the things that hits here. It's not coming in one end and going out the other. It's home. So this is what I have to practice for myself on a daily basis. I mean, getting up, even doing this. I know that I need to be prepared. I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to feel comfortable. I need to be ready. So these are the things that I have to implement in order for me to do this. So that's what I'm doing on a daily basis. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. I'm not perfect at all, but I do my best, and that's all I can offer. That's all anybody can offer. Is just do your best. Marriage, divorce, beginning and end. And I have been both married. I am now, and I have been divorced. And I don't look at it as something negative. I used to. I used to think it was a bad thing, but it's it it helped me with my thinking. And what I mean by that is that marriage is something that I gotta think of. It's no longer just me, because just me, I can roll just any kind of way. But if it's me and I also have a partner, I gotta take them into consideration. A lot goes on with that. I gotta understand what type of person they are, what kind of pressure they do, how they function. I need to know this so I can be comfortable, how I can support them, and what I want from them, what I need from them, what I can give them. So it's a partnership. Sometimes 50-50, sometimes 80-20, sometimes 100. It be like that. But I got to be willing to do that. It's something I want to do. I desire to do. Because I believe that old saying is like, once you leave the house, you know, mother and father going to raise you, they're going to do the best they can and give you what they think that's going to help you survive in this world today, and then I find a mate, my mother and father will never be forgotten. They always would be part of my life forever. Living or die, they're always going to be part of my life. But the fact of it is, now it's my turn to build that life with this other human being. Just simple as that. My partner. I love her, my wife. So that's what and it can be a beautiful thing. It can be an ugly thing, but it's only going to be what you make. Can't expect. One of the things I talk about this all the time. One of the things I really appreciate my sister. God bless the dead. Because I know when I was coming up, I think I left the house when I was like 18. I'm going on my own. This is like, I need some space. I need my own stuff, you know. But when I did do that, I'm still going back home to my mom's house to eat. I thought that I still had that privilege of like that. But my sister um, helped me come to the realization that I didn't have that privilege. That shit was gone. You're a grown ass man. You don't live here anymore. You don't buy no food here anymore. So you need to go to where you pay rent and cook your own food. Because if you come here to eat something to eat, you got two kids, you got your mother and her, they're going to eat first. And then you can get what's left over. What's left over. And trust me, I can eat. I love to eat. That didn't sit well with me. When that was told to me, I said, I'm going to take my ass home and learn how to cook. I could not cook, but I learned because I love to eat. I love food. I know I can't eat everything, but I know I can eat what I like. What I can't eat, I don't mess with. I leave it alone. But I thank and I love my sister for what she. I don't have no problem. I'll go down there and cook me something. I don't have to know, but I know where I can go to find out what I need to do to cook it. I'll make it. So I do that, and I don't. I would like for my wife to do it, but if she don't, okay. But one of the things I believe, and you can disagree, agree with me, is that I don't believe anybody can't cook. I don't believe people say when they say they can't cook. I don't believe that because it's a desire. And if I choose not to cook, that's what it is. Because I can learn. Anybody can learn how to cook. Just take some time and patience, and it'll come. You'll get some. Sometimes you can't make everything, but there's some things that you can make. And when you start doing that, my experience is that when I started doing some things that I couldn't do and I learned how to do it, I started expanding that knowledge, doing other things, and it worked out well for me. Yeah, I have no complaints now. My wife don't cook as much as I do, but I know she can cook. She can go in there and make up a dish when she feel like she's ready. She go in there. So that's not somebody that can't cook. That's somebody choose not to cook, and I'm okay with that. I don't put that pressure on. Some other things she do that I can't do. Well, I ain't gonna say I can't do. I don't do that great, and doesn't turn out the way I would like. She can. So one hand washes the other, and that's like the partnership. You're accepting somebody's limitations and limits, and they're going to accept yours. And, you go from there, And when you know it's good. And then I want to slide this little tidbit in about, I don't want to forget about the divorce, and I say it's not a bad thing because, you know, people come into your life. There's a reason. There's a reason for the season. People come and go in your life. Sometimes we marry them, and sometimes they outgrow us. We outgrow them. You know, but we must part. But even though we part, and it might not be on good terms, I don't have to stay in that negative space, you know, and dwell on those things that happen negative in that relationship. I learned to look at it as, because I know my divorce, first thing I said, I realized I blamed that woman for everything in the world. Everything went wrong. She was this, she was that, all that. But, I realized she is who she is. Shit. I can blame her for all that stuff, but, if I really want to take a look at it, I was at fault. Because I ain't have to accept none of that shit. None of it. When it's happened, I could stop it right at the gate. Then this goes back to the first conversation I talked about. Nobody can make you do anything you choose not to do. And that's the key. So I know that me and that individual could not live together, because they have ways that, just not comfortable for my lifestyle. And I know I might have ways that might not be comfortable for their lifestyle. So what that tells me is that maybe y'all can still be friends, but keep that space. She got her piece over there, you got your piece over here, and you can be friends from a distance, a long distance. But I respect it because I realized that if I really want to look at this and be able to grow from it, if I, like I said earlier, if I didn't like what happened in a relationship, I had every opportunity to change. I can say I was in love or stupid, whatever you want to say. I had the opportunity. Did I choose to take the time and make the right decision? Is the key. And the answer is no, I didn't. I acted on my feelings. Like I said, I blamed them for everything happened. But then after some time went by, I had time to really examine it and look at it and take it apart and put it back together. I realized she wasn't at fault. Cause she gonna be who she is. We had a conversation. I told him, I said, I apologize, because I blamed you for everything. But if I was the real man, if I was going to be the real man in that relationship, I wouldn't have put up with all that shit to the point where it wouldn't have happened, or things would have turned out different. Because I'd have did things different. So I can't blame somebody else for things that didn't go right in my life with them. So I take the responsibility for what I did not do, what I did do and what I did not do. And that gave me peace. So that helped me grow from that. So from that point further, I didn't dislike that person. I just respected him. Because I realized they're going to be who they are. Who am I to think I can change another human being? I don't have God's power to do that. And I don't want it, to be honest with you, because that's a lot of work. And trust me, I'm lazy in that department. I don't want to change nobody. If they're going to change, I would prefer it's something they choose to do on their own. And they can take something and say, well, you helped me. You said this and that made me think. Fine. But you did it. That's the bottom line of that. You changed. So that's what I mean when I say divorce, and I say that it's it can be a healthy thing. That's the way I look at it. It can be a healthy thing. I don't want to be angry with nobody. We can't communicate, then that tells me that I need to leave you alone. I need to put some space between me and you so you can feel better and I can feel better. Simple process. I believe that wholeheartedly. I have to keep things simple for my peace of mind. And create change, it's a good thing. It can be a good thing. Still, I got it. For me, I know somebody told me when I changed, I was working and I changed from one space. Well, I went from inpatient to outpatient. And, they said, something, you just come here and do your thing. You did a good job when you was down there, come here. I said, listen, thank you for the compliment. But I need to learn how y'all function here. And once I learn how y'all function, then I can implement some of the things I'm comfortable in doing this. But until then, I got to do y'all way. I need to learn this way first. Once I learn this way, then I can implement some things different so I can navigate in this environment. I need to learn this way first. Because I can't come up here doing this thing here, and then do it here. Don't work. For me, it don't work like that. I need to come and see how this is running, and then I can learn to make some adjustments. Just that simple for me. And it worked out. You know, it works. It works for me that way. Making them changes in my career. Man, let me tell you, I used to have a closet, a walk-in closet, and all it had across the front was G-O-D. I am G-O-D. I own that. I'm going to own that because I know that's the way I functioned for a while, a good while. I thought was the shit. But, like I said, life teaches you that you don't really not in control of things that you think you're in control of. If you really pay attention, you're not. But trusting in my God, it's relieving. It's peaceful that, I know that I'm not running to set this thing in motion, and I need to be mindful enough to pay attention to how things go so it doesn't affect me in a negative way, if that makes any sense. So I roll like that, and I trust my God. Sometimes, I know I want to take over the wheel and whatnot, and I run right into the wall. And the beauty of it is that even though I run into the wall, my God don't hold grudges towards me. Never tell me, well, I told you so, you're going to do this and you're going to do this. Nope. You ready? Yeah. Come on, let's switch. Just that simple. So I'm learning to trust my God more and more and go along with his faith. I don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to turn out. I have an idea, or, I assume that this is the way it's going to happen and this is the way it is. But I learn to sit back and let him do his thing. And I do my part. And it works out. It works out good enough for me. I'm learning to do that on a daily basis, trusting my God on a daily basis. Like I said before, I don't do it perfectly, but I am practicing. I'm doing the best that I can. And that's good for me, real good for me. Surrendering the plans and then versus trying to control the outcome. That's a lot of work, hard work, trying to control the outcome. That's what faith coming in will come in the picture for me. Trusting in my God that he will do what he need to do for me to get to where I need to. Just that simple, really. And it works out good. It comes, I learned to balance, the surroundings. And, I have I'm going to call him a spiritual leader. And he helps me understand this thing. It's like everything has a rhythm and a flow. You got to know the rhythm. And then once you know the rhythm, you got to just get with the flow. It sound like crazy, but hey, it works. For me, it works. Having some trust, honesty, balance, order. Those words, I don't just want to say them. I need to implement them in my life. I need to be able to see it in my actions. And when I see it in my action, it's good for me because now I know I'm surrendering to somebody's plan, my God's plan. What do you have for me? I know what I want to do. I know what I like, but sometimes what I like and what I want to do don't work. But I get what I need, if that makes any sense. I don't have an issue with surrendering to it, but we do have issues to surrendering. I used to have issues surrendering because I just wanted to be in control. I needed to know how things was going to turn out. I wanted to be able to control every aspect of life. Shit don't work out like that. Because at the end of the day, no one was frustrated or beat down more than I was trying to control stuff. But, that's just the way it is. Am I willing to surrender to God's plan or want to control the outcome of things in life? And it doesn't work out like that. Overcoming the anxiety in a new season, how to embrace the change instead of fearing it. Just let it happen. Can't say no more than just that. Just let it happen. Just that simple. Just that simple. Now, doing it, shit ain't that simple. Because most especially when you think that you're running something and you're trying to control, you've been telling yourself that you've been controlling some shit. Really, you ain't controlling nothing. But when you think like that, you believe like that. And that thinking you be doing for a long period of time starts to become your reality, that you're running some shit. But you're not. It's just like that. But learning how to surrender to God's plan it's a humbling that you are. It's a humbling act that you have to implement, that I have to implement on a daily basis. Realizing that I'm not running anything other than my mouth, only thing that I'm running. And when I realize that, Surrendering to God's plan is a lot easier. Because thinking I'm controlling something ain't nothing. It's not much of reality there. A lot of false reality. Overcoming the anxiety of a new season, how to embrace instead of preparing it. Acceptance. It is what it is. And accepting the other person to change the way they feel fit versus me believing that, I can do this for them and things like that. Kind of embrace it. Now, when I say embrace it, I don't mean I have to like it, but I need to learn to embrace it. It's not about I might like this shirt, this hat, these glasses, things like that. But when it comes to life, it's not about liking it all. It's just an accepting. Those are the things I got to do. As I spoke earlier about it in the beginning when I started, life is like a bed of roses. It has its thorns. I got to adjust to this. Be changed to change successfully. I can't stay the same. It's not going to work. If I assume that, if I feel like I want to stay the same, I can't. I got options. I can't because all I'm going to do is just bust my head against the wall constantly and not going to not making any progress. No, it's like phases. I got to make that adjustment mentally and emotionally and spiritually preparation. If I don't do those things, work on those things, adjusting those things mentally, accepting that I ain't running nothing, that I'm running on God's plan. How do I know it's God's plan? I pray a lot. Got to pray for it. Guidance, wisdom, and things like that. And I got to meditate for me. Because sometimes my mouth will go on 90 wide, but my mouth is closed shut. They need to be on the same page. Then I start seeing the difference. Mentally, emotionally, learning to accept things the way they are, not the way I want them to be. Because I ain't running shit. Nothing. Nothing at all. And then to top it off, spiritually preparation. Learning to pray. Learning to meditate. And also learning how, I want to be treated. Now, if I want to be treated a certain way, am I giving that out? Giving out what I want? That's a big question for me. I can do it. Am I doing it? It's key. Or am I just talking about it? So those three preparations is something that you need to do. I need to do in order to make those adjustments and the change to be successful in life. And when I say successful, I'm not talking about being rich, having a lot of money. I'm just saying being at peace with who I am and where I'm in the direction I'm going. That's what I mean when I say change to being successful. Now money probably come with it, but it's not something that that's my yes, I do. Yes, I ain't gonna tell them yes, I want some money. But mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, those things, three things, have to play a big part in my life. Because it's not about money. Like a lot of things, I need money, but I need to realize that money is not going to change who I am inside. Oh, I can buy some new clothes, house, car. I can buy some things, but I can't get anything of substance. And that's what I want to put out there because I don't want to probably think that I want all these emotional, mental, and spiritual things. And, it means like having a lot of money. No, it does not mean having a lot of money. It's just having some joy in life, a lot of joy and direction in your life. Some key questions. Why do men struggle with life's transitions? I wish I had somebody to call in so we can actually kind of really dive into that question. One of the things come to mind is change. Some people don't like change because if one thing is working for them, I think I can work that till the rest of my life. Can't stop change. Got to learn to accept it for what it is. And that's what we work on a daily basis. Life transitions and whatnot, and I don't want to do it, because I'm comfortable with just what I'm doing. I don't want nothing else. I don't want to change. And that's what I'm saying. I like what I'm doing. I'm not growing. I know I get up and I expect this and I expect that. I'm comfortable with that. And it's easy to get comfortable with things that's easy. But that's laziness for me. So why do we struggle? Like I said, we struggle because I don't want to change. I didn't want to change. I said I got comfortable with what I was doing. I wanted to stay the same. But in order to grow, you have to change. There's no way to live in this world and want to grow and don't change. You can't grow if you don't change. Bottom line. The world will pass you by. Before you know it, everything is gone. What role does faith play in navigating uncertainty? I'm gonna say 90%, 90 to 100%. Because we talked about not knowing what's going to happen from one minute to the next. just having faith plays a big part. And a lot of times, it's 9 times out of 10, it's an uncomfortable feeling. Just stepping out on faith and just doing what you got to do. That's what it is. How can men embrace change instead of fearing it? Accepting it. Gonna be what it is. Shit. You can't change things if you're gonna stay the same. Yeah, that's what we do on a daily basis. And some of the questions that, I want to throw out there, I want you to ask yourself, why do I struggle with life transitions? What role does faith play in navigating uncertainties? Ask yourself, in my life, role does faith play in navigating uncertainty? And last but not least, how can I embrace change instead of fearing it? Ask yourself those 3 questions and see what answer you can come up with for yourself. What makes sense to you? Because what makes sense to me might not make sense to you. So this is individual treatment plan for myself and an individual treatment plan for yourself. Learning to navigate things like that will make this process go a whole lot smoother. And this is what we talk about in Mended Men, just accepting my responsibility and what things are in life, what I'm supposed to do. Am I going to be selfish and continue to look out for me, or I'm going to, learn to give back what I learned and what somebody gave to me? These are the things that I have to look at for me. And then I get joy out of life, peace of mind, and I'm okay with what I do in life. Because, I'm not a taker, and nothing wrong with being a giver. But, once again, like I said, it's a balancing act. For me, it's a balancing act. Just knowing those things and always want to be able to be open to taking a look at who I am and what I'm actually doing. Am I doing what I say I'm going to do? That's important to me. Here in Mended Men, that's what we talk about. Like I said, there'll come a day where we can really have a conversation, talking to people, getting people's opinion, agreeing, disagreeing, that's what this is all about. Learning how to have that conversation with each other. Because in these times, we need it. We need it very much. I can't really get into political things, but I'm just saying, for me, my thinking, things is crazy these days. And I need to focus on me because what I see outside of me, again, I have no control of. What I do have control of is I want peace and harmony in my life. Even though I know when I step out these doors, it's going to be a lot of chaos. But do I have to submit to that chaos? No, I don't. Will I? No, I won't. I won't. 'Cause like I said, I think me and chaos don't do well, and I can leave it right where it is. I love peace of mind. Taking my time. Just accepting things for what it is. Just that's it's not really a complicated issue. It's just learning to go with the flow of life. As I talked about earlier, rhythm, flow. Practicing some things in my life, implementing them in my life, actually want to be able to see them in my life, having some balance, some order, truth, process, justice, just some of them things. Not just words, but something that I can live by. I can go on and on. Like I said, I can't wait for the day when we can really have a conversation, disagreeing and agreeing. I like that because it's learning, it's growing when we do that, when we have a healthy conversation with each other. And that's all one of the big reasons why we started Mended Men. To have a platform where we can talk about how we truly feel inside and how we navigate those feelings, how we justify our wrongs and rights. Here on Mended Men, that's what we do. And I appreciate you and everybody else that listen to this conversation. And hopefully one day you can join in and we can have a real conversation. Because that's the most important thing. And that's how we grow. It's just one of many podcasts that's out there that's out there that make us better human beings. And these are the times that we need to gravitate to it, grow it, use it for what it is, become better human beings today. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of insanity out there. You don't have, and the beauty of it, you ain't got to go far to experience it. It's right here, right in your face, and it's meant to be like that. It's like it's telling us to wake up, wake the hell up. Change is coming every day, every minute. Change. I don't even know why they created the word, made it like, because sometimes we have a tendency to make it look like it's so important. I can like some things, but I also need to give some of the things that are like, just goes without saying. So I'm not going to prolong the inedible. I'm going to say thank you for Mended Men, Thomas Garnett, and Anthony Washington. And we'll meet again next week. Same time, same place. Talk about men and how we do things, how we grow, become better men, better human beings. All right. I will speak to you good people very soon. Good day. Hey, before you go, I got one more thing for you. If today's conversation spoke to you, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to take that next step in your personal healing and growth, connect with us. We're here to help. You can find us at www.garnettcounseling.com. Your story matters. Your healing matters. And we'll be honored to be part of your journey. Let's keep the conversation going.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Mended Men Conversations. If something we shared resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Remember, healing is a journey and you don't have to walk it alone. Stay connected with us. Subscribe to the podcast and join the conversation online. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep building your legacy.